So you learn from the same chiropractor
Yeah.
that Lance Armstrong and Tiger Woods go
Correct.
to.
Yeah. Antibiotic is against life. I haven't taken an antibiotic in 25 years.
Hi, Dr. Serafini. I'm so excited to be interviewing you today. For anybody who does not know, so I do the social media management for the Scottsdale Chiropractor. We've been working together for 2 years now. And I actually started out as a patient because I have scoliosis. And you and Dr. Maslow and the whole team were so great at supporting me. And from there, I actually spoke with them, told them I do social media management. We started doing some Instagram marketing together. And just over the course of the past 2 years, we've had so much of your content get millions of views. We've received thousands of comments, questions, people wanting to learn more about your expertise, what it is that you do, hear your thoughts on especially a lot of different medical issues, which we are going to be diving into today. So that's kind of the background of essentially how the two of us know each other. But today is really all about you. So to start out, something that a lot of people don't know about you is your story. And so I would love it if you could start out by just telling us a little bit about your story, where you grew up, what got you into wellness in the first place.
I grew up like a football junkie. I played high school football and college football. I really was all about like wellness and health and working out. When I got into college, I wanted to get into, originally, I thought I wanted to get into physical therapy. But then I heard some people talking about chiropractic and chiropractors. And I had never been to a chiropractor at that point. So I thought I had an idea of what they did, but I really wasn't sure. So then I just started to do some research on my own. I called some area chiropractors, asked if I could observe with them. And two of them said no, by the way, which was really weird. But then one of them actually said, yeah, sure, come in. He had a very, very basic operation, but he explained chiropractic to me. He was, telling me about the spine and the nerves in the spine. And if the bones get misaligned, they put pressure on those nerves and the body doesn't function the way it's supposed to. And I was kind of fascinated by it because it did make sense to me, although it was a very superficial layer. At that point, sparked my interest. So then I started to schedule my curriculum around getting my prerequisites for chiropractic school. And then when I went to chiro school, total game changer. Like it literally changed my life. There's so much about health and wellness and nutrition and how the body works and a lot of misconceptions that I didn't realize until I got into school, just really educating about how the body works and what you can do to get the best out of your body and optimal health, including chiropractic, nutrition, supplementation, exercise, diet. I was also a personal trainer in there, so college football player, personal trainer. So I just had that health and wellness mindset, and chiropractic was really just an easy kind of transition for me.
Okay, interesting. So you said that when you were in chiropractic school, there are things about what you learned there that was surprising to you that maybe you didn't know before. What was one of those first things that was really interesting to you?
Man, there was a lot. A lot of nutrition, to be honest. I wasn't per se a bad eater, but I wasn't a good eater. You know
You're
what
a
I mean?
college kid.
Yeah, I was a college kid, totally.
Yeah.
So really getting in and learning about nutrition and what food does to the body and what your body does with the food. You have to digest, assimilate, and eliminate. Those are all three parts of the, utilizing food in your body. But each one of those stages is vitally important. So it wasn't only just the food, but how your body processes the food and what you do with the food. That was a big one. Probably one of the most influential courses I've ever taken was the nutritional course that I took in chiropractic school. It was amazing. But there were just so many other things, lots and lots of things, but just a lot of misconceptions that I didn't realize until I got in. Like everybody has a medicine cabinet right in their house in the
Yeah.
old school houses, right? You open up the mirror and there's your medicine cabinet, right? And it's full of like Tylenol and Theraflu or whatever the heck you want to put in there. And I just had this like paradigm shift, like, wait a minute. You don't need all these extra things, right? There's a time and a place for most things, but it was just revolutionary to think, like, most people don't realize this, but I haven't taken an antibiotic in 25 years. I'm 51 years old. I've never missed a day of work, and I've been working for 24 years. I take all the supplementation that's on our walls in our office. I took one medication for about 60 days. It was a thyroid med. So I thought my hands were getting cold. So I thought maybe I talked with another naturopath, and I really didn't want to do it, but I just figured like, all right, if this kind of gets me over the bump, we can kind of figure out what it is, then I was willing to do it. But that's the only medication I've ever been on, in my adult life, maybe when I was a child, but I'm 51. So, it says something, you know what I mean? Yeah. Most people are pretty surprised by that. I took an antibiotic one time when I had a root canal. It was like 15 years ago, and I took it for 3 days, and that's it. And that's, kind of telling story because I haven't missed a day at work.
That's really crazy
Yeah,
because
yeah.
with the work that you do,
Mhm.
as a chiropractor, your hands are literally on
Yeah.
people, like you're in people's
Oh, you
personal
are.
space
For sure. Yeah.
every single day.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I've been sick. I'm not saying I've ever been
yeah,
sick.
no, totally.
And I've been to
But
work like laying on the table between patients. Like, I'm like,
I
oh my
know.
God. I have done that.
Well, of course. I mean, you're a human,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
fact that you've never taken
Yeah.
these other medications that a lot of other people
Hmm.
have,
Yeah. 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 People are
that's really
surprised.
shocking.
Yeah. People are very surprised when I tell
Okay,
them
and
that.
why do you think that is?
Because again, these are misconceptions. You just automatically assume, oh, I'm sick. I go to the doctor. I get an antibiotic. And look, there's a time and a place for
Mhm.
antibiotics. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm living proof that you don't need an antibiotic. Same thing with my wife. I mean, she's the same way. I
Yeah.
mean, we both practice what we preach. So we just load up on our supplementation. And when we feel like we're getting sick, we do that. And at worst, usually I'd say I'm bad for maybe 24 hours. And that's about it. It kicks my butt for maybe 24 hours. And then I start to come out of it and then I'm fine.
Okay, so do you think that it's because there's practices that you have as a part of your day-to-day life,
Hmm.
which we can get into,
Hmm.
that naturally have your immune system so strong that you don't need it?
Hmm.
And is part of that
I
any
do.
supplements or anything like that that you could share?
Yeah. I mean, I take supplements every day. I've been doing that for 25 years, 24. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. I got to take handfuls of supplements. So there's, diet, nutrition. We'll stay away from certain things when we're sick. We'll, add certain things in when we're sick. So I think my wife kind of always gets around about it because she's like, Chris, he doesn't never get sick. Not never, but it doesn't, keep me from doing much. So there are lots and lots of things that you can do. And I think that's, again, one of the misconceptions that people have. They just
Mm.
automatically feel like, oh, I'm sick. I go to the doctor and get an antibiotic. And remember, if it's a viral problem, which a lot of things are, it's a virus, antibiotics don't work against viruses. That's why we have an antibiotic problem, right? Because we've been given antibiotics for so many things and people don't care. They just want the antibiotic. But hey, antibiotics don't work against viruses. So you're just creating antibiotic resistance when you take, yeah, a lot of people don't know. It's kind of created a problem. We've
Okay,
given them
so
out too much.
for anyone who may not quite understand this,
Uh-huh.
why wouldn't you immediately want to take an antibiotic
Mhm.
whenever you get sick? Why do you choose to not do that?
Great question. So anti means against bio life. Antibiotic is against life. Probiotic is pro for life, right? So you take a probiotic, you're infiltrating your gut with the great normal proper bacteria that you're supposed to have. When you take an antibiotic, which is anti-life, you kill them all the army that you have in your gut. Think of it like an army. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a city or a country, your army is very strong, then you could defend off, right? But if you kill your army off and you now have an invader, right, you're in bad shape. So if you take antibiotics, then you're killing all the good bacteria that you have. Everything that you put in your mouth has some sort of germ bacteria on it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it does. Everybody understands that.
Yeah.
So first line of defense is like saliva, and then your stomach acid is super important. That's going to help with killing off bacteria and germs and things like that. So there's all these different levels of defense that your body naturally has. So if you're taking an antibiotic, you're reducing your army, anti-bios.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
I
people
didn't
don't think
know
about
that
it.
it translated
Probiotics,
to that.
yes, that's
So
exactly
is
what it
that
is.
something that you learned in chiropractic school?
Yes, perfect example. Yeah,
Wow.
things like that. I was just
Really
like, oh.
interesting.
My dad one time told me to take an antibiotic because I had this cough, and he was like, "You just keep taking this until it's gone." And I ended up because, as most people do. If you take too many antibiotics, it'll give you like loose stool because you're killing all
And,
of
and
your.
it hurts your gut health.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I was like going to the bathroom nonstop at high school, and I called my dad. I was like, "Dad, I mean, I've gone to the bathroom like 6 times. It's not even noon yet." You know what I mean? And he's like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "I think it's the antibiotic."
Oh my
But my
gosh.
dad, old school guy, so he didn't know any of that
Of
stuff. So
course. Yeah.
yeah,
He doesn't know the things that you
yeah,
know
no,
now.
not at all, not at all.
That's so interesting. So
Yeah, yeah.
antibiotic literally means against life. Probiotic means
For life,
pro-life.
for
So
life,
then if
anti,
we
yes.
take too many antibiotics and we're killing too much
Yep.
of our gut bacteria, which ends up hurting us.
Hmm.
But just so I understand the argument for antibiotics,
Hmm.
people say that you should take them because it's going to kill off the bad
Yeah.
bacteria.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah.
I mean, antibiotics have obviously have hero stories. They've saved a lot of,
Yeah.
people and a lot of different things for sure. There's a time and a place. I'm just saying that is a sliver of the norm. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like that you have to have an antibiotic to kill
yeah.
this particular bacteria. For the most part, you can just do all these other things. You know what I mean?
Like what?
Like diet, nutrition,
Okay.
that's really the most important part. And even taking probiotics, you're going to keep
Mm,
constantly nourishing your good bacteria in your gut. Remember, the gut is known as the second brain,
hmm.
right? Neurotransmitters, all kinds of stuff. So it's super important
Yeah.
that you keep that normal flora in your gut.
So if people don't have a healthy gut,
Hmm.
let's say that they're taking too many antibiotics
Hmm.
and maybe they don't even
Hmm.
realize it, but their
Hmm.
gut health isn't
Hmm.
great, that's going to in fact their brain health, which is going to affect
Mhm.
their cognitive ability, probably also
Mhm.
their mood
Mhm.
as well.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, there's already like, studies and, research on this stuff
got it.
for sure.
Let's say that you like are feeling a little bit under the weather,
Mhm.
and it's the kind of thing where maybe someone would say, okay, you should take an antibiotic for that.
Mhm.
Is there anything specific that you take in place of that to help
Yep.
yourself get better?
So I'd say vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, which, there was a big research that a lot of times during COVID, people had the most infection rates were people with low vitamin D levels. That's very well
Interesting.
known now, but
So vitamin D correlates to immune health.
I'm very much, well, vitamin D is kind of unique that it's like a hormone, kind of, to be
Mm,
honest. Vitamin D is like super important. It's got prohibited cancer kind of properties to it, all kinds of different things.
okay.
Um, but it's a combination of things. It's not like one particular supplement. It's really a combination of supplements, and you have to know the right dosages. I think that's where a lot of like everybody's a patient to me, but a lot of patients kind of lose like if they're low on vitamin D, they might be taking like 1,000 IU's. Well, that's not going to move the needle. You know what I mean? It's
Mm,
like putting a grain of sand in your gas tank. It's not very much. It's not going to really do much. So I think dosages are super important, and a lot of lay people just don't understand that.
okay.
So if you're going to take vitamin D and you're sick, I would tell you to take like 10,000 at least. That's not a lot. It's not
Okay.
toxic. You're not going to get toxic or anything like that, but it's going to be
Okay.
enough to actually spark the immune system. Vitamin C, 6 to 8,000 milligrams at least.
Okay.
Just stuff like that.
Okay, got it. So if someone's
Hmm.
not feeling well, you would suggest that they take more vitamin D,
Hmm.
vitamin C.
C, zinc, B
Got
complex,
it.
multivitamin,
So maybe take that once they're starting to feel under the
Yep,
weather and then
yep,
until they're feeling
for
better.
sure. Yeah, be proactive too. I always tell, like if I'm going to be traveling or something like that, me and a
Mm-hmm.
family, oftentimes how many people like, you're in one of those
Yeah.
cans flying in the air with all these people. So we say, take some stuff proactively to keep your immune system as high as possible. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So we do that all the time.
Okay. And are there
Mhm.
certain brands that you suggest?
That's a good point. There are many, many wonderful brands. There
Mm-hmm.
are. I always tell patients you don't have to get the most expensive, I wouldn't say, but don't get the cheapest. You go to Costco, it was $10 for this whole container. We all know we're getting what you pay for. You get what
That's
you pay for.
true.
So I always say, like, you don't have to get the most expensive, but I
Okay.
definitely wouldn't get the cheapest. There are definitely fantastic brands out there. A lot of really elite supplement companies are really only dispensed to doctors. So it's
Mm,
hard to get them like as a layperson.
yeah.
That doesn't mean there's not other good brands. But a lot of like the elite ones, they're just, kind of doctor focused.
Okay,
You know
got
what I
it.
mean?
But if
So we
somebody
have access
wanted
to them.
specific brands or your specific recommendations, would you have that in your office for them to buy from
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
got
Yeah,
it.
yeah. The ones that we use are pharmaceutical, nutraceutical grade.
Okay,
They're pre-digested, which is a really unique concept in the supplementation world. Just
okay,
easier to digest stuff like
got
that.
it. And do you remember the actual name of those?
Yeah, Optimal Health Systems is
Got
one
it.
that we use. OHS. Another one that we use is Zymogen.
Okay,
Yep,
got it.
really good products.
Interesting.
Very good.
So, antibiotics, which are against life, which is so
Isn't
crazy
that
to learn
crazy? I know,
about.
I know. I was like, huh? You know what I mean?
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's one of the many things you learn in chiropractic school
Yeah.
that you didn't otherwise know about.
Hmm.
And okay, so you said also too that you did football when
Hmm.
you were in college.
Hmm.
When you did that, were you learning more about health and wellness as a part of that? No? Okay, they just said
No.
throw the ball.
No, yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah. That mean working out, but like
Yeah.
not, they weren't giving you any instructions on diet,
Okay.
nutrition, and stuff like that. Just
Got it.
working out stuff
So it
and
was
old school working out and just pushing weights,
yeah, of course.
that
Okay.
kind of
So it was
stuff.
really then once you got into chiropractic school that you learned more about these different
Big
things.
time, yes.
Okay. And then when did you meet your wife Alana?
Oh, I met her in 2004. It was Cinco de Mayo.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
and we met at Dos Gringos, which is just a few blocks away from
That's
here. It used to be
crazy.
anyway. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting story, but yeah.
Okay, that's fun. And
Mhm.
then she's super into all this wellness stuff too.
Very much so.
That's
She's my
amazing.
biggest fan. I'm
Oh,
so blessed to have her. She is just amazing. She supports me in every way. It's been a long journey. This is
yeah.
24 years. I get emotional about it. Um, yeah, just
That's beautiful.
she's my queen. I would say.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's so beautiful. I know I've heard so many times how highly you speak of her, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
all of us, want to see examples of a relationship like that
yeah.
around us because I know I have parents who are in like a really healthy
Oh, cool,
relationship,
cool.
and
Yeah,
that's so inspirational to me. And I can see
yeah,
like my father's an entrepreneur, and
yeah.
something he's told me, which is kind of similar to what you just said, is that having that supportive partner has been really fundamental in his success. And like you and Alana too, like my
Mm-hmm,
family's also super into health and wellness.
mm-hmm,
They share those same
mm-hmm,
beliefs as
mm-hmm,
well.
mm-hmm. I oftentimes I say behind every great man's a great woman.
Yeah.
For sure. She's helped me so many ways. I'm an East Coast Italian guy, right? So she's got me to like, Chris, you can't say that in your review. Reply to that negative review, Chris. You can't say that. And I'm like, screw this guy. So
You're a
she's
very passionate
very
Italian man.
passionate. Yeah. East Coast passionate Italian guy. So she's helped me out tremendously with just things like that. But
Yeah.
to be honest, I respect her opinion so much that I run a lot of business things by her. And she
Mm,
just gives me such good good advice and a good perspective. And I think like with all the different nuances of running a business and all the different
yeah.
challenges there are, it is rough to go through that all by yourself. It is
Yeah.
rough. I mean, it's so nice to have somebody to bounce ideas also off of and just, express your concerns and, the risks and, everything's, business ownership. It's just like, oh, it's just wonderful. And, it's
No.
super easy. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It is not. It is
Yeah.
hard, 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 and I have had ups and downs along the way, and I don't know, what I would have made it without her, to be honest.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so
I know,
beautiful.
I know, I know.
Let's not talk about that journey.
Uh,
So, you've told me a little bit about the ups and downs of business and everything like that. I
yeah.
think that would be really interesting to share because the work that you do is so impactful. I mean,
Mhm,
anyone who looks at your Instagram
mhm,
page with
yeah.
your amazing content.
Yeah. I'm Instagram famous
I know.
sometimes. People tell me that.
Okay, for anyone who
You're
does
Instagram famous. I'm like, that's what I hear.
Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, we'll get to this in a second,
Yes.
but your reels have literally gotten millions
Yes.
and millions of
Yes.
views, but it's
Yeah.
because like you can see the lives that you're changing, but
Mm-hmm.
that kind of
Mm-hmm.
an impact usually has a story
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
behind it,
Yeah.
right? You
Totally.
don't just wake up one day and then
Yeah.
change hundreds of lives.
Correct.
You know what I mean? In such a
Correct.
profound way. So
Yeah.
let's dive into your story as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Take me back to the beginning of that, maybe like right around after college graduation
Yeah.
and how you got started.
Quite a story. So I graduated from college chiropractic school in 2002. I moved out here. I was doing, and I had an internship with a very successful practice out in actually Sun City. Two really successful doctors. I did that, and because I had to wait for my license. And then once I got my license, I just opened up as like an independent contractor out of someone's office. I was renting a room. I had my three tables in the room. I had no like marketing experience. There was no websites back then. It's 2002. So it was like boots on the ground, like going to networking groups and just trying to meet as many people as I could. And it was rough. I mean, really rough. It was very hard to survive. I was barely making it. Um, and it was kind of a long story, but I'll summarize. I ended up, one of my really good friends moved out to Arizona. So I moved from the west side of town to the east side of town in the Scottsdale area. And I had a little practice there in the west side of town, but I wanted to kind of transition over to the Scottsdale area. So just so happens where we moved across the street in the Fry's Plaza there,
Mm-hmm.
there was a husband and wife chiropractic team in there. And I just walked into their office one day and I was just like, hey, look, I have an office on the other side of town. I'm looking to kind of transition over to this side of town. Is there any opportunities or available that I could just rent a room or whatever? And they were like, well, actually, we're moving our practice out of this practice. We're building a brand new facility. We're going to move our practice into that area and that building. And then what we're going to do is keep a doctor in this office, build a practice up. Very long story. But that was the gist. And then they would kind of help me. And then after 2 years, I would buy them out.
Okay.
And that's kind of how that happened. So I was in that location for 14 years. And then in 2019, I moved into our current location. So
Okay.
I've been there for the last 6. So I bought them out in 2007. So ever since 2007, I've been on my own.
Okay.
Well, really, all of that except for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Since 2002 till now, I was on my own, except for
Okay.
the 2 years that they were involved.
Tell me more about what it was like when you first started your practice. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the little room. So you're just renting this
Mm-hmm.
little room,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out how to get patients.
Yes.
So you're going to networking events, meeting people, saying, hey, if you need
Yes.
help, I'm a
Yes.
chiropractor, I can help you
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
Then from there, probably just trying to do really good work and get referrals and things
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through a little bit more of what was going through your head and what kept you going on those hard days.
It was rough. I gotta be honest. I think my love for chiropractic, like my passion and desire for it, was so strong that it just because I knew like the power of chiropractic. I knew like changing lives. And even though I had this little itty bitty practice, I was still changing people's lives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like that drive and that spark and that desire just kind of kept me pushing forward. And I'm a little pig-headed sometimes, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna keep going and keep going.
Mhm.
And I did, and it was rough. It was super rough, and I struggled a lot and barely paid my bills. And
Mm.
a lot of people don't know this side of the story, but it's rough. But anyway, it all worked out. But
Yeah.
the challenges, especially back then, there just wasn't that many reasons. There was no social media. There was no
No.
websites. You know what I mean? There was no Google ads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the stuff that we do today, it was just like that was nothing back then. So it was
Mm.
just meeting people. I was doing spinal screenings. I would, put up a table at Sprouts and have my spine. People, hi, would you like your spine checked? You know what I mean? It was just, ugh, and it was the worst. It was embarrassing. It was belittling. You know what I mean? It was rough. It was a rough go. And God, thank God, my wife. I mean, she would go with me. I mean, when I first opened up that practice with that other chiropractic team, I was working 6 days a week. I was going to work on like Memorial Day and Labor Day just to go on a couple more days because I was building a
Yeah.
practice. So, I mean, it was a ton of sacrifice. Going to I would go to the office on Saturday from like 9 to 11. Then after that, we would go to Sprouts and we would set up our little table for another couple hours. I mean, I did that for 3.5 years. I stopped working Saturdays once I got married.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, just not woe is me. I don't mean to come across like that, but it was
No,
hard.
but it's a part
Yeah,
of your
yeah, it's part
story,
of the
and I
story
feel like
for
if
sure.
anything, you sharing this shows, like, your
Yeah,
true passion for what it is that you do, and I
yeah,
know I've spoken to you about this before as well, but I
yeah.
think that it's really clear when you meet someone who's
Hmm.
operating not just out of, like, "Great to make money doing this,"
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
rather
yeah,
out of a
yeah,
calling,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and something that I have always felt in your work is that you really operate out of a calling, and I
Hmm.
think that's important to talk about as
Hmm.
well because, obviously, there's a lot of different people you can go to for your support and things like
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
I personally want to go to people for support who, whatever it is that they're supporting me in,
Hmm.
like that's a true calling
Yeah, I
for
agree.
them. And I
I
think
agree.
that you having that period of struggle, but
Hmm.
choosing to go through it,
Hmm.
because that was a
Hmm.
choice, you could have quit.
Yep.
You could have done anything
Yep.
else to make, more money and something
Yeah.
else in that time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you chose to move forward with it. And I think
Yeah.
that speaks to your calling.
Yeah. I agree. No, it's a great point. Yeah, just it sharpens you. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? You're just pushing through. You're pushing through. You believe in what you're doing. It sounds cliche, but it is. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what keeps you going. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
anybody that really believes in what they're doing and know you're going to make a difference, and you see you're making a difference,
Mm.
it just was enough to push me through and push me through and come out on the other side as successful as we are. I'm just super blessed. I just want to do better, and I want
Yeah.
to get into consulting and teaching, and I want to create an army of NFL chiropractors. I
And you,
just want like the best chiros out there, and
mhm,
everybody wants them because they just they're doing what we
yeah.
do. And so many patients say that, why doesn't everybody else do this? Oh, we hear
Mm-hmm.
this all the time. And we're like, it's a good point.
Yeah.
You're asking a great question. Like, why don't every chiropractor or other chiropractors do this? So that's my next phase in this journey. My next chapter is to get into teaching and consulting, and again, just create an army of really good chiropractors.
100%.
So people can be like, wow, I heard they're trained by Dr. Serafini. They're the Scottsdale Chiropractor.
Since we're on this topic, let's dive into for a minute
Hmm.
what makes you so unique
Hmm.
as a chiropractor.
Hmm.
Because before I went to see you, I went to go and see another chiropractor who said, "Hey, cracked my
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah.
Do you feel better?" I was
Yeah,
like, "I
yeah.
don't know."
Thump the
I
lump, right? Thump the lump. Yeah, yeah,
was like, "I don't even know what just
yeah, yeah,
happened," you
totally.
know?
Yeah,
And then, like, the next week, I was like, "Okay, I feel the same."
yeah,
That didn't
yeah,
really
yeah,
do
yeah.
anything for me.
Mm,
And then I came to see you because I actually had a friend
mm-hmm.
who said, Dr.
Yeah.
Serafini, Dr. Mazo, the whole team, you guys are
Mm-hmm.
amazing at what it is that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like chiropractors, and
Yeah.
then there's, I feel like, what it is that you offer, and other people who offer something similar to what it is that you offer.
Mm-hmm.
For you in your business to have stood the test of time, to
Mm-hmm.
have been in practice for so many different years,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you have to be great at what it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want for you to take a second to break down what is it that you do that's different,
Mm-hmm.
and like how did you come to the realization that that's how to really help people, that's different than just, hey, I'm going to crack your neck and send you
Mm-hmm.
on your way.
Mm-hmm. It's obviously evolved over 24 years, like the
Mhm.
operation that we have now and the techniques that we use and the equipment that we have, obviously that I didn't have those 24 years ago.
Mhm.
So it was just a constant strive to in my life in general, even when I played football and just different things that I do, I'm always like, I want to be the best at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I might not be the fastest, I might not be the tallest or the strongest or whatever,
Mhm.
but whatever I got and whatever I could do to be the best at it, that's just my expectation, you know?
Mhm.
That's just how I'm wired. So as I was going through practice, I got introduced because when you're in school, you're introduced to very basic, simple things. I mean, when you're a graduating chiropractor, you know the basics,
Okay.
the extreme basics. So you don't know kind of what you don't know. And then you get out and then you see all these other doctors doing all these wonderful, crazy, cool things, you know? So I started to just get dripped on a little bit. Like my journey, it was just, you know, kind of like a regular chiropractor. And then I bought a laser and I still have that laser today. This was in 2008. Yeah, 2008. Bought this laser, and with the laser, they gave you a seminar. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll show up to the seminar. So I went to the seminar, and the doctor's name was Dr. Jeff Spencer. And he was, in his heyday, he was like one of the best chiropractors, sports chiropractors in the world. So he was the same chiropractor for Lance Armstrong, Tiger Woods, like in their heyday when they were like the best.
Okay, so you learned from the same
Yeah,
chiropractor that Lance Armstrong and Tiger Woods go to.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was phenomenal, Dr. Jeff Spencer. And he was the one that introduced me to muscle testing. So I was a little skeptical of muscle testing. I tell everybody that. Look, I didn't believe it either. I mean, he was doing this muscle testing, and I was just like, it just didn't make sense to me. I came from a personal training background, you know,
And what
weightlifting
is muscle
background.
muscle testing for people who don't
Yeah.
know? Break that
So
down.
So muscle testing, also known as like applied kinesiology. It is the basic. It's like the analysis of the body using muscles and testing those muscles. So you can use any muscle, more or less. I'm simplifying this, but you can use any muscle and you test that muscle. You should see a strong response. Most people understand that. If I have you do something, or we touch something, or we touch a reflex point, and then you go weak, that's the body saying, I don't like that. There's a problem there.
Mm.
So if you remain strong, that's the body saying, all is good. So we just move on. So muscle testing is a unique analysis. It's taught all over the world. You know, thousands and thousands and thousands of doctors know it. And it's extremely useful. It's extremely useful. So as I was learning this technique, I was a little skeptical for sure. But what I couldn't disagree or argue, it was working. And I didn't know why it was working, but it was working. So I would hold my arm up, and I was pretty strong.
Yeah.
Been a weightlifter my whole life. And then all of a sudden my arm would go down and I could not keep my arm up. And I was like, this is crazy. Why can't I keep my arm up? So it was very outside of the box for me, especially as a personal trainer, you know. So once I started to learn it a little bit, then I started to do it. So in the seminar, we would do it on other doctors, and sure enough, it was working. And I was like, I don't understand this stuff. I do not understand it, but it is working. I can't debate that. So then I just took a little bit of it Monday morning and started to use it on my patients. And again, they didn't know what I was doing, right? So I'd say, oh, Mrs. Smith, go ahead and put your arm up, and boom, her arm would go down. And then I would touch the spot that I learned, touch her neck at that particular spot, and boom, her arm would go on. And then I would take my little laser and I would laser her neck, and her arm was strong. And I was like, oh my God, this stuff works. This is working. I don't even know what's. She was like, whoa, that's really cool, right?
So since you learned this from the same
Yeah.
chiropractor that worked with people like Tiger Woods, and
Yeah.
it's fair to say that Tiger Woods benefited from things like muscle testing,
Oh, for sure.
and that's now what you help people with at your practice.
Correct. Yes.
Wow.
So muscle testing is very uniquely positioned to, I say, it's giving you information that you couldn't get otherwise.
Mm.
You can't get this information otherwise. You know, we do like brain balancing and emotional work, and obviously you're familiar with all this stuff. I don't know how else you would do that without muscle testing. Otherwise, you're guessing. You could do this, you could do that, but what we say, like, we only have so much time with the patient. We want to make sure we're as effective as possible. So using muscle testing, I don't have to waste time to do something on something that you didn't necessarily need. So if I use muscle testing, I can narrow it down very quickly on what I need to do, and then just, fix that, move to the next, fix that. But instead of fixing something, did I really fix it because you didn't need it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So muscle testing is one of the things that you learned from this celebrity chiropractor,
Yeah.
we could say.
Yes.
What else did you learn from him that you still use in your practice today?
So muscle testing is a part of that, but like the
Got
scar
it.
work that we do and
Okay,
lasering the
so you
scars.
learned
Yeah,
that
yeah,
from
yeah,
him.
yeah, correct, correct. Him
Wow.
and other chiropractors. So
Okay.
he was like my very first introduction into it. But once I started to see that it was working, I was like, who else knows this? I want to know
Mm,
who else knows this stuff because this stuff works. So
yeah.
then I ended up going with Dr. Jerome Aruka. He's one of my great mentors and personal friends. And he was great. And he had his own take on it. And then I learned some stuff from him. And
Mm,
then I was like, who else knows this? And then it was Dr. Brimhall, who's here locally. And then
yeah.
once he totally took it into another level. He's a great friend and mentor to me. So it was like all of these doctors had their kind of own take on it.
Yeah.
So I would just take bits and pieces of what they did and ended up getting Brimhall certified. And then over the past, and that was probably since 2008 to 2010 is where I really dove into all this stuff. And then since 2010, I just kind of created my own technique
Yeah.
because I took all these little bits and pieces and what worked and what I felt was, the best of each one.
Hmm.
And I kind of created this kind of technique, I guess you could
Hmm.
say. And now that's kind of what I've perfected. And that's what I've taught
Hmm.
Dr. Maslow, and he's been such a great student. I mean, he's picked up things very, very well. So I think now I've gotten to the point where I've broken this down enough where I can now teach it to other
Hmm.
people. So that's
Yeah.
the
To me,
next
it just sounds
thing.
like a key theme in your story is that you
Mm-hmm.
really are that forever student. And
Mm-hmm.
even when
Mm-hmm.
presented with
Mm-hmm.
information that to you was something you were skeptical of,
Yes.
if it had some sort of basis or backing, you said,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm going to explore this and at least learn more about it,
Mm-hmm.
try it out for
Yeah.
myself, and
Yeah.
then decide if this is something that I'm going to move forward with.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, that's how you learn about things like muscle testing, which
Mm-hmm.
if you just say it out loud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it doesn't make sense. I bet there's
Yeah.
placebo, whatever.
Yes.
But then if
Yes.
you actually experience it, like that is obviously one of the
Correct.
many things that you do where
Yeah.
you can see that difference. And it's a really special way in which you support your patients.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wanted to try out something like muscle testing
Mm-hmm.
for themselves at home to prove to themselves that it's real, is there a
Mm-hmm.
test that they could do?
Yeah, technically, you're supposed to make sure the patient is testable in order to make sure muscle
Okay.
testing works. For the most part, you can use muscle testing on anybody. If they're not testable, it might not work exactly right.
Okay.
But you would just test them. So have them bring your arm up, you muscle test them, you're engaging them. They should match your pressure, you two match each other. Their arm does
Mm-hmm.
not go down. Then you could do some different things. You could put like a supplement in their hand, or you could touch a certain area. You could touch like a scar. This is a really easy one. So
Okay.
you'd put their arm up, muscle test them, they're strong. And then let's say they have a C-section, a hysterectomy, a hernia surgery,
Okay.
a cut on their lip or their nose or
Mm.
forehead. Then you have them touch that, or you can touch it. It doesn't really matter. And
Okay.
then they'll go weak.
So let's just
Mhm.
say that I had like I don't, but let's say I had a scar like right
Mhm.
here. Okay,
Mhm.
and you're muscle testing me.
Yes.
Or let's say I want to try this with a friend
Yep.
at home, and I was
Yep.
like, oh, I have a scar on my
Yes.
cheek. Okay, so I'd
Yes.
put my hand on my cheek, I'd put my arm out.
No hand on cheek first.
Okay, sorry, no hand on
First,
cheek
just in the
first.
yeah, first just in the clear. We call
Got
that
it.
in the clear,
In the
just muscle
clear.
testing.
So I
Are
just
you
put my
strong?
arm out and
But you
I'd
gotta have a strong muscle first,
that makes sense.
because if
So
the person's weak in the clear,
then,
you can't use it.
then the data is void.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I would put my arm out first.
Yes.
Let's say I didn't know about muscle testing and I
Yep.
want to try this with a friend at home.
Mhm.
I put my arm out.
Is it? Are you testing yourself or the friend?
So my friend is with me.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say, but
Yeah.
me and my friend wanted to try it out. So I'd say, okay, I'm
Okay.
going to put my arm out, and my
Yep.
friend would say, okay, Christina, I'm going to press on your arm.
Yes.
The friend would press on my arm,
Yep.
and I'm
Should
strong. I
you
work
should be
out,
strong. You
right?
do. You
So,
do.
so
Yeah.
it's not going to move.
Yes.
And then after that, I would say, okay, let's try out this muscle testing theory. So
Yes.
let's say I had a scar
Yep.
on my cheek.
Yep.
I'd put my fingers on my cheek,
Yep.
then I'd ask my friend to press down on my arm again,
Correct.
and then the arm would go
The
down.
arm will go down.
And why would it go down?
It'd be go down because the body is. Remember, you're asking yes/no questions.
Okay.
Is this a problem or not? Yes or no,
Mm,
right? So if you do that, if it is a problem, remember, not all scars will be, most of them will be though.
okay.
So let's say it wasn't, then you touch and you're not going to go weak. But if
Hmm.
you touch that, and every time you touch that, your arm goes weak. And I mean, if it's like I said, C-section, hysterectomy, hernia, most of the forehead, over the eyebrows, lip scars, all those usually will show for sure.
Okay.
So if you're touching and you go weak, the body's saying that's a problem. In our world, the scar is either active, it's affecting you, or it's inactive. So when we treat the scars, we're making them inactive. They're not
Mm.
affecting the patient anymore.
How would you treat the scar?
So we use the percussor and the laser. So if we can percuss that scar, we're going to want to percuss it if we can, right? Depending on where it's at. Most of the time, we're going to percuss and laser the scar both. If we can't percuss it, we can just use the laser, and that'll work too.
And how does the laser work?
It's interesting. So, in all fairness, we don't quite know exactly how lasers work.
Okay.
It is a
Wait,
theory. It's
we
kind of like
just
the
know
atom
it does.
theory. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a theory. It's the best that we can come up with. But what we know now is the laser works inside the body at the cellular level. So it's going to interact with the cellular membrane. And when it does that, it's going to increase the ATP production of the cell. When you increase the ATP, because the ATP is like the power of the cell,
Okay.
you can accelerate the cell regeneration repair process very quickly.
Okay.
So that's
So
the best explanation of it.
Okay, got it. So to kind of break it down in like super simple terms, the laser is a light.
Mm-hmm.
This light is special.
Mm-hmm.
The special light
Mm-hmm.
makes the cells more powerful.
Correct.
Okay, so like the
Increases the
special
energy.
light increases the energy of the cells.
Yep.
So then let's just say that I had a big scar on my cheek.
Mm-hmm.
I put my hand out, it went down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's say that there was a laser
Mm-hmm.
and my cheek was lasered.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then to redo the muscle testing,
Yep.
I would put my arm out
Same
again,
process.
have someone else press down on it.
Correct.
And if my arm is, while I'm touching the scar again, and then if my arm is strong,
Yes.
that means that my body is saying, like, we're strong now, we're good.
We're good. Correct.
Okay.
And if you weren't, then either you didn't laser it long enough,
Mhm.
which doesn't take very long. It would depend on the laser to some degree.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? But it usually doesn't take that long.
And is this your Erconia laser?
This
that
is
you
Erconia
use?
laser. Yeah. We have
Okay.
other lasers too,
Yeah.
but like our main focus are the Erconia lasers. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so the Erconia laser, and it has just, it's the red light, correct?
Well, there's red, and then we have the one that I have in my room is that red violet one as well.
Okay.
And they have a new one that's a green.
Okay.
Oh,
Very
they're
interesting.
tempting me to get that one.
I know.
They're very pricey. Erconia.
Yeah, an
Very
investment.
expensive lasers, yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But they're worth it.
Okay, so muscle testing, obviously, your scar work, laser healing, these are all kind of,
Mhm.
I almost want to say like alternative things that you do to heal people, but they really work. And anyone who looks at your Instagram page can see dozens and dozens and dozens of examples of this. I know something that we actually have currently in your Instagram bio is we make miracles happen for your health, because that's exactly what happens in your practice. And besides the content, like I've been in your practice, I've spoken to people who have had these just amazing transformations with their health. There's so many different things that you do and that you educate people on that maybe not everyone knows about. And one of them is your most viral video. It is your Apple Watch video, which goes into EMF and how, reducing the EMF exposure in the body can help heal people, can help restore that unity with the body. But that video was insane. It got 18.7 million
It was like our
views.
4th video.
I know. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It got
Millions.
millions of views,
Yes.
thousands of people in the
yeah,
comments going
yes,
back and
yes,
forth.
yes.
People are heated.
My phone was like, brrr, it was
Literally
blowing up.
insane. Like
Yeah, I know.
hundreds of thousands of shares. Like
Yeah.
people went crazy over this video.
Yeah.
Jamie Lynn Spears, Britney Spears'
Yes,
sister,
Yes, you told me that.
like this video, which is so. I remember seeing that notification, and I was like, Dr. Serafini,
Yeah.
you're famous.
Hold on a second.
I know.
I just want you to know.
Can I have your autograph?
I know, right, yeah. That was a big one.
But what's interesting about that video, and part of the reason why it did go so viral, is the comment section was heated. I mean, in the video itself too, obviously what happens in the video, you and I know, there's a man who has an Apple Watch on. You're testing his neck. And what we find in the video is that when he takes the watch off, his neck has so much more mobility and he feels so much
He
better.
comments on it.
Yeah.
I can't make the guy comment.
No, you can't.
I mean, give me a break.
Give me a break.
Come on.
Good grief.
The haters out there. Oh, you're just moving it harder or faster. You do it more you do it, the better it's going to be. I mean,
No.
the guy even goes, what?
No.
Yeah.
No, he was not a paid actor. He was a real patient.
No. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, but what do
I don't sell watches, remember.
you...
I have no financial incentive. That's all I got. And by the way, this Casio, if you want, I'm just...
Okay, but what do you think of how heated the comment section was? Because there were people in there who were straight up mad when they saw that video.
I don't care. To be honest, I listen to Rogan. Rogan talks about like, I don't read the comments. I don't get involved in all that stuff. And to be honest, I really don't. I don't know if I really ever commented on anything, but it's one of those things where unless you're actually having it demonstrated on you and you can feel the rigidity and then you feel the rigidity go away, you can tell your arm is weak. You can't hold your arm up.
Yeah.
And most people understand. They can feel it's weak. They know they're weak. And then all of a sudden, all I do is just have the watch removed and boom, their range of motion increases. They're strong. It's one of those things when you're looking at it on a video, you could certainly try to poke holes in it. I get that. I do. Although we're a doctor's office, we don't sell watches. Like,
No.
why would I do that? What would be the point? You know what I mean? My whole goal is to what? Help people fix their
Yeah.
pain. So if I'm saying to you, I think that that watch is contributing to the lack of range of motion in your neck, the weakness of the muscles you have in your body, and I would tell you, I wouldn't wear it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's my goal. My goal is to help the patient. So
I
that's what I'm trying to do.
absolutely.
Period.
Let's
Yeah.
explain now why EMF affects the body.
Yeah. I can't say that I can speak very intelligently on like the why per se, right? But it's electromagnetic radiation, and now those watches and the rings are an electromagnetic radiation emitting device. So the effects of radiation, do I always say, do we feel radiation? No, we do not. Do
Mm-hmm.
we know it affects our bodies? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
That's non-debatable, right? So I always say like the way that you reduce the effects of radiation is time, distance, and shielding. So the time you're exposed to it, think about it. If you're putting a watch on for all waking hours every day for years and years and years, your exposure time is significantly
Mm-hmm.
high. Then the distance from the source. You're putting it on your body. You're literally strapping it to you, right? Come on.
Yeah.
And then shielding, right? So you have some sort of shield. So when you break that down to patients and they kind of like, because most people are familiar with electromagnetic radiation stuff with phones,
Mm-hmm.
most people are familiar with that to some degree. They just don't apply it to like the watches and the rings. But I always say, like, that's a mini cell phone. Your Apple Watch is a mini cell phone for the most
Yeah.
part, it is. And I think that the other part that most people don't realize is the guidelines that we use that are what they come up with, the guidelines for safe amount of radiation from electromagnetic radiation devices. Most people don't realize this, but that was in 1996. The Federal Communications Commission, which is the FCC, yeah, it's completely ridiculous.
That's before I was born.
Yes, that's like comparing the horse and buggy to the Corvette. That's not even close. The tech that we have today in 2026 versus 1996 is a joke. Nobody had cell phones back then. We didn't have Wi-Fi back then. We didn't have Bluetooth back then. We didn't have watches. We didn't have any of that
So
stuff.
essentially what you're saying is that the safety regulations for how much like EMF we can be
Mm,
exposed
the
to,
safety
the
limits
safety
that they use
limits,
today, the guidelines that they use today,
the
were
guy
formulated in
the
1996.
guidelines that they used, they were formulated in 1996. But
Yes.
obviously, there's been so many
Oh,
advances
come
since
on. Of course.
1996.
And
So
remember,
it's completely out of date, is what you're
completely out of
saying.
date, right?
Wow.
Completely out of date. Now, wouldn't you think that the wise, government officials that we have, that they would think about updating the information?
Yeah.
They should, right? And I always tell everybody, you're not going to find this on apple.com, right? Like if you wanted to look up
Yeah.
the side effects of smoking or tobacco use, would you go to marlboro.com and look it all up?
No.
No. And everybody I say that to in my office, everybody says no. And I go, okay, so do you think you're going to apple.com and you're going to look it all up? No.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, this is one of those misconceptions, I think, that people just feel like if it was that bad, then they would have already told us and they would have set up guidelines. And I have an article in my office I show to everybody. It says French regulators ban the sale of the iPhone model over radiation concerns. I go, what's the concern? Why would they ban the sale of it? What's the concern? Right? And they look at me like, you're right. What's the concern? Because there's a
Yeah.
concern against radiation, right?
Yeah.
So I think if anybody really does any kind of looking into it, you know what I mean? Most people
Yeah.
just take things on face value and, they're willing to, kind of throw stones at it and try and discredit it. But if you really start looking into it like I did, do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because I knew this stuff, but I didn't look that much into it, right? Until the
Mm-hmm.
video went crazy. And then I was like, let's kind of, go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
So, what are the ways in which people may be exposing themselves to radiation and they don't know about it? So,
Mm-hmm.
the Apple Watch is obviously one of them.
The
Our phone
rings,
is one of them.
Aura
Okay,
rings,
Aura
yeah.
Rings is another one. AirPods
Oh,
as well.
huge,
Any
huge,
kind
huge,
of
huge.
wireless headphone as well.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like I don't, I use a AirPod, but I have the decals, the shields that go
Mm-hmm.
on them. So I do
The
that.
EMF blocker shields. What brand
Correct.
is that
Yeah.
again?
Wave Block.
Wave
Yeah.
Block.
Wonderful company. I think they're fantastic. They're the only ones that I know. There might be others out there, but
Yeah.
they're the only ones that I know that actually have them for like the AirPods
Yes.
and earphones. They have them for like iPads and your phones and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that too. But that was the game changer for me because I wouldn't use them. I actually had a friend of mine who he this is kind of just a off the cuff story, but he was telling me about he had a female manager that he had worked for, and she was well known for always wearing one AirPod in her ear. And they ended up finding that she started losing her hearing in that ear, and then they found a tumor in that ear. Yeah, how coincidental is that? Do you
A
know what I mean?
tumor.
Yeah, she would
And
just
she
wear it in one
lost her
ear.
her hearing.
Yeah. I don't know if she lost her, she was losing her
Okay,
hearing,
but
and
it
then they
was, yeah,
found, yeah, I don't
going
wanna
out. Yeah,
misstate, but, they found a tumor in there. I know. I
that's
know.
crazy. And so
Yeah.
many people just wear those like
Yep.
it's nothing, and they don't
Yes.
even know,
No.
which is why
There's
I'm so glad
again,
we're having a
there's
conversation like
so
this
much
today.
information about this. It's just you don't see it on mainstream
I know.
TV and the news, you know. I mean, wouldn't that be newsworthy? I think that would be newsworthy versus the stuff that they show us on the news. Anyway, there's a ton of information out there. There's tons of resources and, wonderful companies like WaveBlock where you can buy things that can,
Yeah.
reduce your exposure,
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, and it makes a huge impact.
huge,
Okay,
huge.
so obviously losing the hearing, brain tumor,
Yeah, yeah,
that's what happened to her with that. So
yeah.
what about with people who wear the Apple Watch all day
Mhm,
long, or maybe people who have their phone in their pocket all day long without some
mhm,
kind of EMF blocker?
mhm.
What are negative side effects they may be experiencing that they don't know are from the
Yeah,
radiation?
there is a lot of information about what side effects you could have. Everything from like hurt your immune system to
Hmm.
fatigue issues. I've seen
Okay.
information on this is a little like biochemistry, but there's different channels in your cells, and they have like calcium channels,
Hmm.
and there's ion transfers and all that stuff. But the EMR actually affects that, which is
Hmm.
that's like extremely impactful because it's literally the functionality of your cells. So there's lots of things that are out there. Now, granted, is there like a one single symptom that is only related to EMF? I would say no,
Hmm.
there isn't. But it's a cumulative effect. One, there's many, many different symptoms that are associated with it. And if anybody is being, just fair here, if you really dove into those comments that you're talking about, there was a ton of people that were commenting about how they realized that their watch was affecting
Yep.
them. So I'm like, I didn't tell a person to say this. They're just like looking at the
Yeah.
video and commenting on their own experience.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So it's like
absolutely.
it's not just me. There's all those
No.
other people talking about, oh my God, I noticed that too. And I used to have this and then I
Yeah.
stopped wearing my watch and it went away. I mean, we hear that all the time. I mean, you're gonna hate on them too. You know what I mean?
No. And also, too,
No.
for anyone who wants to check, obviously, you've redone this test with multiple different
Yes,
people and their
yes,
Apple
yes,
Watches.
totally.
We have, I think, I want to say at least 10, like
Maybe.
5 to 10
Yeah,
videos on your
for
Instagram
sure.
page right now showcasing the Apple Watch transformation just to show people, like,
Mm-hmm.
this wasn't like some actor that Dr. Serafini
Mm-hmm.
hired.
Yeah,
Like, this
yeah,
is real.
yeah.
We've had
Correct.
this test done on a lot of different
Correct.
patients. So let's talk about some recent breaking news. Kennedy just made it a requirement that
Mm-hmm.
nutrition is taught in medical schools.
Mm-hmm.
You and I were talking about this off air, and I would love for you to talk a little bit more about this right now.
Yeah, I think this is an absolute game changer because oftentimes I think that medical doctors don't address nutritional needs and
Mm-hmm.
how important nutrition and supplementation is. And I think it's a lack of being educated on it
Mm-hmm.
because I think they have this mindset like, well, if it was important, it had anything to do with health and wellness, we would have learned about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of this, egotistical kind of viewpoint. And I think what he's doing by implementing this nutritional course, which is a minimum of 40 hours, they'll start to learn the proper guidance or education on nutrition and how important it is and how it should be vitally implemented into the care of their patients.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to say that when you're sick, you need this, pharmaceutical drug is crazy. That's just crazy. Luckily, I think many, many people are waking up to this whole concept. To be honest, I think they are. But I think that's a humongous step in the right direction to get these doctors on board with understanding because it's like anything once you learn it and you're educated on it now you can speak intelligently.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've been given information and resources to show this isn't whack science by any means. I mean there's
No.
tons of research and literature on the importance of supplementation and diet. So hopefully I love Secretary Kennedy because I just really feel his whole goal is to make America healthy again, and
Yeah.
what could possibly be wrong with that?
Mm-hmm.
We spend the most money on healthcare. We're the sickest and most obese country in the world, and we spend the most money. Nobody, I don't know how you can rationally look at that and go, well, something's wrong here. We're
Yeah.
spending the most money, but we're literally the most unhealthy country in the world. So I am all for it. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's a game changer.
It's crazy when you really break it down like that. And I want to take a second to actually sit with what it is that you just shared. So, the American people spend a lot of money. I think you said the most money on
By far,
their health
yeah.
out of the other countries
Out of
in the
all the
world.
countries in the world,
Really? I didn't
we
know
spend
that.
the most amount of money on healthcare, more than any other country in the world by far.
Yet
And we're
we're
this.
not doing that well.
No, we're last. We're last of all the
Yeah, I mean,
industrialized
there's so
countries.
much
We're last.
obesity
So
and
much obesity, chronic disease. We have the most chronic disease in any other country in the world. This is
interesting.
all fact based. I mean, it's not my
Wow,
opinion at all.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
So to go back
it's
to,
ridiculous.
this new mandate that Kennedy is
Mm-hmm.
putting into place.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying that, doctors have to have at least 40 hours of training on nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Was there none before, or was there none? Not
Yes.
even like a couple hours?
No. I know. Yep.
What?
Shocker. Yes. None.
In medical schools across the US.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I have heard that for the most part, I've heard there was none, but I think a
Okay.
couple times I've heard like references, maybe like 2 hours or something very,
Oh my
very
God,
like
compared
not
to
even, yeah, not even
how
really worth. I mean, 2 hours, you'll know about nutrition. You know what I mean?
no.
I've heard, but for the most part, I have heard many resources that, yeah, there's zero nutritional kind of education in medical schools, which is totally ridiculous. I know. Isn't that unbelievable? It's
I
unbelievable.
like
But
I
remember,
almost don't
it's
have
too stupid to be
words.
stupid. It's too dumb to be dumb.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
honestly, yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to be learning more about nutrition in schools. Our doctors are going to be learning more about that, which is
Mm,
great. I mean, I think
mm,
to even just break this down in the most elementary way, I
yeah.
think that any person listening or watching this right now
Mm,
could definitely agree that when you eat, let's just say, fast food and ice cream and all those different
yeah.
things, you don't feel as well as when, let's just say, you're eating whole foods and
Yes.
proteins and
Yes.
fruits and all those different things that
Yeah.
really fuel your body. And
Mm,
obviously, there's so much evidence and research that suggests that when
mm,
you're eating, let's just say, even more fruits, I know that we just talked about vitamin C, more fruits
mm,
that have naturally
mm,
vitamin C in them, that is
mm,
going to boost
mm.
your immune system, that is going to make you feel better. So let's
Yes.
just say that you're someone who is getting sick a lot. Obviously, supplementation is so important, but
Mm.
looking at our diet is a key way to support ourselves in that. And to me, it just blows my mind that that hasn't been a mandate before.
Yeah, it's logical.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so logical. We
Mm-hmm.
eat, why? Not because we're hungry. We eat because our body needs the nutrition from the food that we're
Yeah,
eating. It has to assimilate the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, all the things that we have in
absolutely.
our food. That's why we are literally eating because it keeps
Because
our
we need
body
it.
alive. We need it. So if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. If you're
Yeah.
putting processed food in or fast food and sweets and carbohydrates and all the different things. Not that
Mm-hmm.
there's not good carbohydrates, but
Yeah.
the point being is you're going to become unhealthy, just like
Mm-hmm.
we are. I mean, we're the most unhealthy country in the world. That's not random. That's not by mistake. There's obviously a unique balance of the food that we eat and the health that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not my opinion. I mean, this is just kind of rational thought,
To kind of go back to
especially
some,
health and wellness people.
absolutely. To
Hmm.
kind of go back to something that we talked about in the beginning of the interview, you were telling me about antibiotics and how that is literally like against life, which is
Hmm.
so crazy.
Yep. Yep.
One of those, drugs that people are prescribed that in some cases, if it's not balanced out with a really good probiotic in the
Mm,
right time and place,
mm,
could actually be harming your body in ways
mm,
that people aren't fully aware of at the
mm,
time that they're taking it. And I know something that, you and I have even talked about off air because we do have conversations about this when we're creating your content plans and things like that,
mm,
is that sometimes, people are prescribed certain things that based off of your knowledge, your expertise, the
mm,
research that you've done, what you learn in chiropractic school,
mm,
they don't always need that. Or perhaps there's a way to go about healing the body that would have less side effects than
mm,
the drug
for
that is
sure.
being prescribed. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more for me?
So you're asking, are there conditions that people are taking medications for that they don't need to take medications for? They can use supplementation or nutrition? So,
Supplementation, nutrition, or even just like other adjustments in their life, more natural ways of healing.
I think some of those might be, pretty logical, common sense, but yeah, I mean, just like you pointed out, if you're going to be eating and you're trying to support your body naturally with health and wellness and vibrance, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to want to eat like fruits, vegetables, clean meats. You can really go down rabbit holes with like vegetarian and carnivore. That's not what I'm getting into, but just, good, clean sources. You want to have like organic. Think about this. Like, if I talked to my grandmother about organic food, she would have no idea what the heck I was talking about. She's like, what is organic food? Right? Because they didn't have a concept of organic. Because
Really?
their food, no,
I
their
didn't
f-
know
no,
this.
their food wasn't poison. They didn't have all of the non-organic versus organic. Think about it.
So it was just clean food.
It was just food. There was no such thing as organic. We
Wait,
now have organic because what's organic mean? Oh, there's no hormones in it. Oh, there's no pesticides in it. Do you
no
see what I mean?
carcinogens.
Yes. Think about it. Our
Wait,
grandparents would have no idea what that means. There was no such thing as
hold
organic
on.
food back then.
Okay, I'm a little younger than you, so I need
You
a
are,
little
yeah,
update
yeah.
real quick. So
My grandmother had no idea. She never heard the term organic.
food used to be cleaner back in the day.
Yeah, there was none of this stuff that we do, like
Okay,
hormones. That hasn't been forever.
so then
Right.
all like the chemicals and everything were added later, and then
Correct.
organic was sold at an
Correct.
increased price,
Correct. Minus all of the crap that they put into
minus all
it.
the crap.
Yeah. There was no such thing 100 years ago as organic and non-organic. It was just food because they weren't putting hormones in it. They weren't putting chemicals in it. They weren't doing all that stuff. Right.
That's so
Isn't it
interesting then,
crazy?
because then
I
if
know.
because I have my grandfather who passed a couple months ago, but
Mm.
he always used to love like Dr. Pepper and like
Oh,
fast food. And my family's generally pretty healthy. Like I'm
yeah,
Greek, I'm
yeah.
Lebanese, we
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
very like Mediterranean diet and things like
Yeah.
that. And he just always loved Dr. Pepper. And he lived to be like 95.
Oh, wow.
And he was very mentally with it, like a very
Really?
long,
Okay.
healthy life.
Yeah.
But his thing is like from the time he was a kid, he just loved Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was so interesting because I'm over here thinking to myself, if you've been drinking this your whole life, like, how are you still doing so great? But now, essentially, what you're telling me
Mm.
is that if food quality has gotten worse,
Mhm.
then there's a chance that the Dr. Pepper, perhaps, that he was drinking when he was younger, maybe had some cleaner ingredients.
Yeah, I don't know that. I wouldn't want to like comment,
Okay.
directly on that, but there is a chance, sure. I would say some of the things that I always preach is like, look, am I perfect? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not either, right? Do I have a perfect diet? No. Do I
No.
make considerations? Absolutely, I
Yeah.
do. And I always say like, choose your poisons wisely. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, I love a good hazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, love it. So
Yeah.
like I drink hazy IPAs, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
are there chemicals in there and stuff like that? I can taste them, literally. I can taste chemicals
What
in
do you mean you
beer.
can taste
I swear to
chemicals?
you, I can blind taste
What?
test me. I swear to God, I
No.
can. I taste chemicals because wheat is one of the most pesticides and herbicides they use on wheat products. It's one of the most. So beer is like wheat and barley and all
Okay,
those
so
kind of
the
things.
wheat in America has a lot of pesticides on it that people are unaware
Correct.
of.
Herbicides and pesticides, yes.
Herbicides and pesticides.
Yes.
And for anyone
Chemicals.
who's not aware, because I want to make sure that we're breaking things down here, how
Mm.
do herbicides and pesticides affect our body?
That would be very specific too.
Okay.
They're just chemicals inside the body that create like some of like endocrine disruptors, things like that.
And what
But they're
is an
chemicals, just like any other chemical, right?
and
If you
an
drank bleach or you know what I mean, or
yeah.
whatever, using the extreme, but they're chemicals that are foreign to the body. They're sprayed on the crops to kill weeds and to kill insects. I don't think it takes rocket scientists to conclude that if I'm eating something that was sprayed to kill something,
Mhm.
right, would I want to drink Roundup? No, I wouldn't. If I gave you two apples and I said, this apple, we sprayed it with Roundup, and this apple, we didn't spray with Roundup, are they going to taste differently? Maybe. Is
Mhm.
one more healthy than the other? They're both apples. Do you know what I mean? You're going to choose that apple versus that apple.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Logically,
Of
a
course.
third grader would do
Of
that. Do you know what I
course.
mean? So I think there's this. You're so far removed from our food supply that you just don't realize what's happening to it, which is really
Mhm.
unfortunate. And that's where we have these concepts of like organic versus non-organic. But like again, I back to my point is choose your poisons wisely. I'm not saying I'm perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't think anybody is. So like choose your poisons wisely. You know what I mean? If I'm doing, let's say I'm doing 2 or 3 out of 25, but you're doing 20 or 22 out of 25, I'm gonna be better off. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I'm perfect. Do you know what I mean? So just choose wisely.
I want to go back to you being able to taste chemicals.
And
Explain
taste
that
it.
to me.
So like if I taste a beer, if it has chemicals in it, I literally taste the chemical. I don't know how else to
Okay.
say it other than that, but I
Can
can.
you tell the difference between organic versus non-organic? Actually, you probably don't
No.
even touch our non-organic food.
Yeah, no. I mean, if I'm eating out somewhere, of course, do you know
Totally,
what I mean?
yeah.
But like in my house, no. No, I just like I can tell a beer that doesn't have the chemical in it. My wife's the same way. She can taste them too.
Wow.
I guess I think in my opinion, this is totally my opinion, but I think when your system and your diet is so clean
Mhm.
that when you do have the chemical, you're
Yeah.
just like, whoa. You know what I mean? You taste it. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like being away from fast food or something, and then you have it and your stomach's like a mess. Do
Mm.
you know what I mean?
Interest
Versus if you're eating it all the time, you kind of don't realize in a
interesting. So
way.
then
Mhm.
it
That's
with
my
that
thought.
logic, a lot of people have perhaps become numb
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
effects of certain foods
Yeah.
because also your body wants to maintain a state of equilibrium.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
it just gets used to maybe not
Mhm.
feeling as energized. It just gets used to the
Yes.
taste.
Yeah.
It gets used to the
You
whatever.
rumble and bumble in your stomach,
Yeah,
getting
or
the
feeling
bloated
really,
feeling.
really
Yes.
tired after
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
meal, which
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
we're not supposed to feel.
If that's your norm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that's your norm, but a lot of people have lots and lots of testimonials about like, oh my gosh, once I stopped eating fast food and then
Mm-hmm.
I had it again, oh my God, it made me, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But they didn't
Interesting.
realize it when they were doing it, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll get to a point where like I can't drink that. Like I won't drink it. I can just taste the
Mm,
chemical. I just won't do it. So
that's so interesting.
mm,
Wow.
a lot. A lot.
I feel like talking about this is so interesting because obviously with you and your practice, and again, I know this as
Mm,
a patient, but you really look at people and you help to diagnose them from like a full spectrum of healing. I remember coming in
mm,
to see you and I was so like pleasantly surprised at how
mm,
thorough
mm.
the initial questionnaire was. You were asking me questions about my health that I don't think any
Anybody
doctor
did, yeah,
had ever
yeah.
asked me up until that point, and
Yeah.
also really drawing like correlations between things like
Mm,
okay, you've had all these concussions and that affected you in
mm,
this way, and we
mm,
can do this other thing to help you.
mm,
And I think what it really goes back to is you have been a forever student. You're
mm,
so passionate about this. This truly is a calling for you.
mm,
And because you're so passionate about it, so invested in it, you're learning about how to heal people from all different angles. You're able to facilitate a healing experience in your office that really is creating miracles because you're not just looking at someone's neck and saying, how do I
mm.
crack it?
Correct, yeah.
What you're doing is saying, how do all these different parts of you make you a whole person, and like
Correct.
what do we need to restore just the overall balance of the energy of your body.
Very much so. Yeah. Once you get into like working with the body and healing the body, anybody who's done it long enough knows that there's many layers to the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It is usually not one thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have neck pain, but where's that coming from? What's it
Mm-hmm.
due to? Could be a scar, could be, many things. But once you start doing this long enough and you have thousands and thousands of patients, underneath your, in your experience, underneath your care, you just really kind of understand like, oh yeah, this is not as easy as you might think. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to start dissecting that patient, looking at all these different layers and what aspects we can look at that may be contributing. And then once you get into that enough, then you really start to learn like, oh yeah, there's
Mm-hmm.
many different things that can be causing this. Somebody can walk in my office, like 50 people walk in my office with headaches, and that could be 49 different things. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with low back pain. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
might be an ilium problem, a sacrum problem, a lumbar problem, scar problem, or lots of things.
I think that in a sense it would be easier
Mm-hmm.
just to look at some health issue that someone is experiencing and to say, oh, I think it could be this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that person says, oh, that's easy for me to understand, that's easy for you to diagnose,
Mm-hmm.
let's try and fix this one thing and then send you on your way.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I know from working with doctors who have told me that, who I didn't get full healing help with,
Yeah, yeah.
and from what I know from seeing patients, is that although that would be perhaps a simpler way to go about healing people,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the deepest and most healing and the most effective way to heal people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that'll get you, to a point, but like when somebody's coming in to see you for a specific problem that they have,
Mm-hmm.
you better be fixing that problem. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not, it gets real uncomfortable. If you're seeing that patient over and over and over and they've already paid you money and now they're still complaining about that problem, that becomes uncomfortable for me as the practitioner and the patient.
Yeah.
So I don't want that. I don't want to have that. I mean, every practitioner that happens, nobody's 100%. Nobody fixes
Yeah.
everybody. But we have so many tools and so many techniques that if we're not getting a patient better, I mean, me and Dr. Miles are like, what the heck is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're doing all these things. Like, what the heck is going on? And again, nobody's 100%. If there was a
Of
doctor who
course.
was 100%, we would all be doing what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? And there just isn't. But I think with the tools that we have, the experience that we have, we are striving to get that patient as best as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not getting better, as difficult as that conversation might be, we will tell that patient, look, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm throwing everything I know at this and we're not getting
Mm-hmm.
you better. Do you know what I mean? But I hate hearing these stories. Like somebody's going to see this physical therapist or this other chiropractor for 6 months or whatever it is, and they're in my office with the same exact complaint, and I'm just like, what are they doing? They
Yeah.
should have released you a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long
If they
time
can't
ago.
help you and
Yes,
if
if
they're
you can.
taking thousands
Yes,
and thousands of dollars of their
yes.
money.
Remember this lady I told you was
Mhm.
$4,000 or whatever the heck it was, and he saw her. No, maybe 6,000. I can't remember what it was, but saw her 42 times. And she's in my office with the same complaint. And I adjusted her once. She got off the table. She's like, I feel better already. I was like, oh my God. Do you know what I mean? But like, if you're not helping somebody, please, man, I
Yeah.
get it. You're running a business. You need revenue and income. I get that part of this. But if you're not able to help the person, stop.
Yeah.
I'm so have a grown up conversation. I'm sorry. I'm trying
Yeah.
my best. I know I am. My patients know, like I'm racking my brain trying to figure this out. So they get it. I mean,
Always.
9 times out of 10, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but when we have to have that conversation, they're like, no, I get it, doc, man. You're doing everything. I don't know what's wrong either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel it's like such a relief to, if that's happening again, doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's such a relief to just be like, look, I'm sorry. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I think patients respect that. Do you know what I mean? They
There's
respect that,
100%. There's multiple different ways to
Yeah.
live your life. There's multiple different ways to build a business and the way that you're building your business. And again, not just based off this conversation, but everything that I've seen from you over the course of the past couple of years, also being a patient,
Mhm.
is that you would rather just be honest with people and
Yes.
genuinely do your best to try and help people every single step of the way. Because yes, that's going to come with its issues, but also not being honest is going to come with its issues. But
Yeah.
you choose the path that is in alignment for you.
Yes. I mean, I've treated patients for free. I've gotten to
Hmm.
the end of their care plan. They're not where I think they should be. And I'm just like, I'm going to treat you for free. I
Yeah.
still have some things that I want to try, and I'm not even going to charge you for it because my goal is to get you better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I've done that
Because you
too.
really care.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want the
Hmm.
person better, period.
Hmm.
If I got to give them, 5 or 6 or 10 visits extra, I'll do it,
Yeah.
just to get
Because
them
you
better.
really care
I
about
do.
people.
I do.
And what would you say to people who say that chiropractors are scam artists?
Oh man. Are there some scam artists? I would say yes.
Hmm.
Are there some lawyers that are scam artists?
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, every profession has good or bad, good and bad. I would just say like there in our office we use this analogy. I think it's a very good analogy. We use the analogy of like chefs and cooks, right? So there's
Mm.
a lot of chiropractic cooks. There is.
Yeah.
But there are only so many chiropractic chefs. So a chef has much more knowledge, training, and expertise,
Hmm.
right? So we're more of a chef chiropractic, right? Chiropractor. And we need both. We need chefs and cooks, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I feel that are there chiropractors out there that aren't the greatest and aren't doing the latest and greatest and best things and maybe aren't even the greatest people? Sure, but that's any profession. Okay, you can't throw the whole entire all lawyers in the garbage just because
Hmm.
there's a couple slime balls. So yeah, does that happen in every profession? I think that does. But that's your kind of, I guess, that's your kind of journey is you should be doing a little bit of like research, if I will, and going and trying to find out like who is a little bit a cut above and beyond,
Yeah.
the normal. So if that's like, hey, I talked to my friend and my friend said he went to your office, Dr.
Hmm.
Serafini, and they got a great result. So I'm going to go into your office, use those kind of tools, right? If somebody's telling you they had a great experience, I would say, follow that. Because it's
Yeah.
hard, very hard. If I was just a regular person out there trying to find a chiropractor, I would be very difficult to know the
Hmm.
difference between who's going to be kind of good and who's not. So, just kind of either do your own research or just ask somebody,
Yeah.
if they're a good
Absolutely.
experience.
And I like the analogy of the chef versus the cook
Mm-hmm.
because I think that in any profession, there
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
obviously that
Yeah.
there's some that are bad, there's some
Yeah.
that are good. You can say the same thing about marketers,
Personal
you
trainers, yeah,
everything.
physical therapists,
Yeah.
engineers. I don't know. I mean, take your pick.
Absolutely.
MDs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Naturopaths, anybody in this space, there's always going to be good and bad.
Yeah. I would love for us to end things on an inspirational note. I have just a couple more questions for you, but
Mm-hmm.
one of them is actually if you can share the story of a recent person who's come into your office
Mm-hmm.
who you really helped perform a miracle on them for their health or what felt like a miracle to them.
This is hard. We do so many.
Oh my God, there's just so much to
I
choose
I mean,
from.
I am just not even trying to not even trying. It's tough. We see a lot of people and we get a lot of great results.
Hmm.
Maybe the lady who I just talked about who came in after being at another office 40 sometimes and spending thousands of dollars. She was in bad shape and literally the first time I adjusted her, she got off the table and felt better. But I would say maybe even like the fourth or fifth adjustment, she was already significantly better. Like,
And what condition did she come in with, and what did significantly better look like?
so she came in with low back pain and leg pain and hip pain. I mean, gosh, she had all kinds of problems. Like she couldn't go to dinner unless she had brought like a pillow with her. Then she'd have to put that
Mm,
behind her back. Even intimacy was a problem. She had sleeping problems. She couldn't sleep because of the pain. She came into me. We just did like our scar work like we normally do. She was significantly better, adjusted her. And then again, after like 4 or 5 visits, she said that she recently had some friends that were in town and they were commenting like, "Oh my god, like the last time we saw you, you were like walking funny and weird and all that stuff."
wow.
And she was like, they were literally commenting like how much better I was moving and how much or how less of pain she was
Yeah.
in, and functionality had improved so much. But like just for regular old people to like, whoa, you know what I mean? To
Yeah.
acknowledge what a change there was. I mean, that's pretty profound. So I'd say, that's one of the most recent ones anyway.
And so you did the adjustment on her.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you did on her to support her with that healing?
Yeah, so we did the physical therapy and spinal decompression and that kind
Mhm.
of stuff, but the scar work. I mean, the scar work I would say is the most profound difference that we do in our office, that most practitioners don't do. And I think
Mm.
it is literally what separates us. Honestly, it really is. I always tell patients all the time, like if somebody said you can only adjust this patient or only work on their scar, if I can only choose one, and I say, do you know which one I would pick? And they look at me and I go, the scar, and I go, yeah, I would. Even though
Mm.
I'm the chiropractor, I would. I know the benefit of doing that scar. We're going to turn muscles on. We're going to decrease pain. We're going to increase your range of motion. You can do that with adjustments too, to some degree, but I think the context of the scar, it's like a whole systematic. It just clears the whole body. It's
Mm.
crazy on how it works. So I would say that's like the most profound, unique benefit that we provide. That is just a total game changer. It's the
So
scar work.
so it was really the adjustments and the scar work that you
It was
helped her out
adjustment and
with.
scar work. I think the whole formula I call it that we
Mhm.
put together. And again, this is 24 years in the making, but I think it's a little bit of all the things that we do.
Mhm.
The adjusting techniques, the scarring, the physical therapy, whole body vibrations, lasers.
Yeah.
All the stuff that we do. It's
All
just
of it is included.
yeah, 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 for sure.
And to touch on scar work just a
Hmm.
little bit. So for someone who's not familiar with how scars can really impact the body,
Hmm.
can you break that down for
Sure.
us?
And great question, really is. So scars, just like when you see a scar on the outside of your body, the scar tissue, it's not like our normal tissue, right? So
Mhm.
scar tissue is not as pliable or as elastic as our normal tissue. But on the inside of the body, it affects the fascia. So it has this, like, I always use my shirt, but it has like this winding effect in the body.
Mhm.
So although I'm not touching my shirt up here, but when I do this, my shirt is
It pulls on
altered.
it.
Yeah, it pulls on it.
Yeah.
So inside the body, you have this winding and twisting of that fascia. The fascia is like a three-dimensional spider web. It coats every
Hmm.
organ, all the structures in your body, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. So if you have this winding process, it's going to be pulling all over in the body.
Hmm.
So when we do the scar work, we use like a percussor and a laser, and we're literally going to unwind the scarring in the body. And when we unwind it, it releases the fascia. And the
Hmm.
fascia starts to unwind, and a lot of times there's emotion stuck in there and all kinds of different things. But
That's interesting.
yeah, that's kind of how that whole process works. And it's very simple, really. I mean, it usually takes us, if we work on a C-section or something like that,
And you
45
use
to 60
a
seconds.
special instrument to
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
unwind the fascia.
Percussor, a
Got
percussor.
it.
Sorry. Yeah. Percussor. We put that on there. It's like a vibrational instrument. It's not like the Theraguns. A lot of people like say, hey, can I use my Theragun on there? Theraguns are more of like a thumping.
Okay.
It's not really a thumping that the percussor is. It's more of a vibrational,
Mhm.
like frequency almost,
Yeah.
which is different than,
Mhm.
than a Theragun. But it's a total game changer.
So it's really the scar work that has been the most impactful within your practice and
Mm-hmm.
helping to heal the scars, which I know that you've done this on me. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've even seen this difference
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
But helping to heal the scar, it would help not only to eliminate, pain or uncomfortability in
Mm-hmm.
that one part of your body,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes the scar can actually be causing tightness in other parts
Oh, very much
of the
so.
body. Like
Yep.
there's even been times where I've gotten adjusted and you're like touching my neck and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And then you adjust a scar
Yeah.
that I have
Yep.
or you unwind the fascia in
Yeah.
the scar to get the
Yes.
terminology
Yes.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, without even touching my neck, all of a
Yeah.
sudden I have so much more neck mobility because it
Exactly.
impacts all these other areas of your body that a
Yeah.
lot of people just don't know about.
Digestive problems we've helped people. Oh
Really?
yeah, digestive, bathroom problems.
Wow.
I'm trying to think, like all kinds of things like that that you wouldn't necessarily assume.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've even heard stories where they say, when they opened me up to do X, Y, or Z, they found all this scar tissue and it was on like my colon and my stomach, or around my uterus and all kinds of stuff like that.
Okay.
So I think there's real life kind of examples
Mm.
of this phenomena, but nobody does anything about it. You know what I mean? We're the only
Yeah.
ones that are doing anything about it for the most part.
And this
You
isn't
know,
something that you learned about in chiropractic school.
this is not what I learned in power school.
How did
No.
you learn about healing scars?
Technically, it was like Spencer and Aruka and Bernal.
Okay.
Yeah, all those doctors. They
Got
were
it.
the ones that really like took it to a whole nother level.
Wow. Hippocrates once said, look well to the spine for the cause of disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, what that means is that we've understood, or at least Hippocrates understood.
Hippocrates, father of all medicine, remember?
That's
You take
true.
the Hippocratic oath.
I know.
That's why, yeah.
That for many, 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 many years,
Mm-hmm.
what's held in the spine really does impact other parts of our body. And getting that into alignment helps us overall get into alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Can you take a second just to touch on that before we close
Sure.
out today?
Basically, the concept is the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal
Mm-hmm.
cord. It's all housed in the spine. And then the nerves branch out of there, and all the nerves go to all the different organs of your body, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a vertebra that's out of alignment or a disc that's putting pressure on a nerve, that nerve now is compressed or altered. So the function coming out of that nerve is going to be altered, right? So I always say if there's a nerve, that nerve goes to somewhere in your body, some muscle or organ. If there's pressure on the nerve, how is the organ or body part at the end of the nerve going to function, normally or abnormally?
Mm-hmm.
And they say abnormally. Everybody does every time. So that's the main concept. This is a really interesting story. So Hippocrates used to take either mud or clay, and he would smear it on the back of his patients. And he would look to see where the mud lightened in color or where it started to crack. Do you know what he was looking for? Think about it.
No.
Lots of people say curvature, right? No, he was looking for heat, because where it would dry, it would be hotter. So he would see the color of the clay change or start to crack. So he knew at that level there was inflammation at that level. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, but that's what he's doing. So then he would concentrate in that area.
Wow.
But Hippocrates was known as the father of all medicine. You take the Hippocratic Oath, and he had many, 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 many stories and lots of references about this kind of stuff. But that's what he meant. If there's a bone out of place, putting pressure on the nerve or disc, that now nerve, wherever it goes, is going to have some sort of dysfunction. So we've helped lots and lots of people with all kinds of random things that you would never think a chiropractor could help you with. And it's not saying all cases of X, Y, and Z are chiropractic related. That's not what we're saying. But oftentimes when we've had patients with PMS problems, like horrible cramps and that kind of stuff and pain every month, we start adjusting them and that goes away. They have digestive problems, that goes away. I mean, I've helped people with blood sugar issues, believe it or not, So that's the big concept of what Hippocrates was saying, because the spine is housing the central nervous system, which is the system that controls every other system in the body. So
Interesting.
I know.
Well, I feel like we could host 100 more podcasts on this and talk
We
forever.
could. I know, right?
We have to close this one out now,
Oh,
though.
yeah.
I really enjoyed this conversation with you, Dr.
I did
Serafini. I'm
too.
so glad that we did this because, again, we've just received thousands of comments of people wanting to learn more about you, your expertise. I know you've also mentioned other chiropractors have asked you about what it is that you do and exactly how you're able to truly change lives in your practice and also be so successful. I mean, if you were to say how many people you've helped in even the last 5 years, do you know how many patients it is?
Thousands.
Thousands. And many more thousands to come. Before we officially close out, is there anything else that you really want to share today?
I don't think so. I think this is great.
Okay.
It was really, really good. I think we covered a lot of topics. I
We
think
did.
from A to Z. I think it was very beneficial, very informative, and I hope everybody likes it.
Amazing. So if people want to go ahead and follow your company's Instagram page, obviously they should go and follow the Scottsdale Chiropractor.
Yes. Hey, last thing, I think you should give yourself a ton of credit. We've had so many people come into our office and I think just yesterday, they were like, whoever's doing your social media, they are doing a wonderful, fantastic job. So you really need to give yourself some credit.
Thank you.
You've done a fantastic job. It's great. We've blown up. I mean, it is like unbelievable how much more progress we've gotten, how many more followers, and just really traction. I mean, we weren't really doing much with our Instagram at all. Really wasn't going anywhere. And you came in, and you're like, I think I can do this and do that. So kudos to you. You've done
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, I recommend everybody, just get a hold of Christina. She'll
Thank
make a
you.
world of difference.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Obviously, as you know, I love to work with people who have such a strong
Mm-hmm.
mission behind what it is
Yeah.
that they do. And
Yeah.
so you make it easy to get you a bunch of
Oh,
new
that's
patients
cool.
every single month because
Thank
you're
you.
obviously so great at what you do
Yeah.
and your work does speak for itself.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. So if anyone wants to follow
Yeah.
your chiropractor page, wants to see the patients and the lives that you're changing,
Mhm.
they need to go follow the Scottsdale Chiropractor on Instagram.
Yes. Or
Uh,
go ScottsdaleChiropractor.com.
yeah, there we
That's
go.
our
The
website.
ScottsdaleChiropractor.com.
Yeah.
I would also love it if anyone listening to this wants to go ahead and DM the page if there's a specific
Mhm.
takeaway that
Mhm.
they really, really loved.
Mhm.
I think that'd be super cool. I'd love to hear about it. I know that you probably would as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I know that we are also going to be launching a personal page for you where we can
Mhm.
really have more of you sharing your unique expertise.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and link that in the description.
Okay.
But with that as well, if any chiropractors especially really enjoyed what it is that you had to say, I think
Mhm.
that it would be great if they
Or
went ahead and messaged you
yeah.
on there and
Or if
wanted
they're
to
interested
talk.
in, kind of learning what we do and the techniques that we use and stuff like
Hmm.
that too, we're going to be, moving in that direction. So, if they're interested in that too, yeah, please DM.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you, Dr.
Thank
Serafini.
you. It was awesome.
Yay.
Yay.